Students, so we're going to begin with session 2 of the Florida Department of Education 6th grade practice test. As you know, you had that for homework, and let me go over the answers and how to do these. These are good practice. Okay, so it says, use the space in this booklet to do your work. For multiple choice items, fill in one bubble. For matching items and multi-select, fill in the bubbles for all of the correct answers. All right, so let's look at number 16. All right, number 16 says a class survey provides the data shown. All right, and they give us a box plot. They want to know which box plot this is. So remember, with a box plot, it's 5 points. It's a 5-point summary. The 5 points are the lower extreme, which is the low number. So in our case, it's 1. The upper extreme, which is the highest number. So it looks like it's 11 because they put the numbers in order. Then we have to find the median. The median is indicated by this line right here. It's the middle. It's where 50% is, right? It's the middle. And then we have to find Q1 and Q3. Q1 is indicated by the beginning of the box. Q3 is the end of the box. And keep in mind that with the box plot, from point to point, so this would be a point, this would be a point, this would be a point, represents 25%. So 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%, because you have fourths or quarters. All right, so let's find the median. Cross out the ends, cross out the ends, cross out the ends, cross out the ends, and continue. And it looks like one true middle number. So when there's one true middle number, cross it out, that's the median, 6. So if I look at all of these, they all had a lower extreme of 1, they all had an upper extreme of 11, and it looks like they all have a median of 6. So far, all of them qualify. So now we got to find Q1. So I'm going to look at this lower half. Q1 is the median of this lower half. Cross out the ends, cross out the ends, cross out the ends. Q1 is 5. All right, so I'm going to look. All right, Q1 here is found by the beginning of the box. This is not the answer. This is not the answer. So it leaves us with this and this as our possible answers. So we're going to continue on, and let's see if we can find Q3. Q3 is the median of the upper half. All right, cross out the end numbers, cross out the end, cross out the end. So Q3 is 8. So when I look at this, all right, so Q3 is found by the end of the box. So I already know these two don't work because Q1 was wrong. All right, so this is 7. Here's Q1, 8. So the answer is D. That's how you would have to go through the problem in order to solve it. Number 17. It says select all the statements that describe the expression 5 plus 2x. All right, 5 plus 2, I'm going to write it, 5 plus 2 plus x. No, 2 plus x is not 2x, so that's not the answer. 5 plus 2 times x, absolutely. 5 plus x, let's look at that one. 5 plus x. Well, if I combine my x's, don't I get 2x? So yes, that's true, C. 5 plus x times x. All right, x times x is x squared. When you're multiplying repeatedly that same amount, it's an exponent, so that's not the answer. The sum of 5 and 2x. Sum means to add, so yes, that's true. The expression represents the product of, product means multiply, 5 times 2x. No, that's not true because that's going to be 10x. That's absolutely not true. So the answers are B, C, and E. Number 18, Tina sells lampshades for $7 each and a paper lantern for $4 each at a one-day craft fair. She sells K lampshades and K plus 4 paper lanterns. The expression, so this is the expression that we're going to use, represents her sales. All right, so when I look at this, I have to figure out which of these are equivalent. So the first thing I see is that I can do this part of it, which is the distributive property. I can take the 4 and multiply the 4 times the K, and take the 4 and multiply it by the 4. And remember, there's an invisible 1 here, right? So 4 times 1 is 4K. plus 4 times 4 is 16, and to that I have to add 7K. All right, so right now I'm going to see if I have anything that matches that. It looks like right now I have E matches that. But we're not done, because I also noticed that I can combine my K's. K's can only be combined with K's, and numbers or constants can only be added with other numbers. So 7 plus 4 is 11 K's plus 16, and it looks like we have one other expression that's equivalent. This was a select all problem, so I knew I had more than one answer. So the answer is C and E. Hopefully I didn't miss any others. Let's make sure. No, all good. All right, what is the expression? All right, we're subtracting decimals. You line up the decimal point when you subtract. And then you're going to add zeros if you need them. They call that annexing zeros. All right, so I'm going to take the first number, and I'm going to line it up. Here's the decimal point. And then I have 219. Here's the decimal point, 38. All right, so we have to subtract. All right, I can't take away 2 from 8, so I'm going to have to borrow. This becomes an 8. This becomes 12. 12 minus 8 is 4. 8 minus 3 is 5. Bring down the decimal point. All right, I can't take away 0 from 9. I've got to borrow. So that becomes an 8. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 9 is 1. 8 minus 1 is 7. 5 minus 2 is 3. So now this is a gridded response. So I'm going to put the 3, the 7, the 1, the decimal point, and the 5 and the 4 in the boxes, and then everything gets bubbled. The 3, the 7, the 1, the decimal point. The third one down is the decimal point. It gets its own box. This is a negative sign. This is a fraction bar. 5 and 4. Don't add extra zeros. You're good to go with that. All right, next one. It says, which of the following situations can be represented by this equation? All right, so when I look at this, I know this is the distributive property, right? But what I know is that this also represents 50 times whatever is in the parentheses. And whatever's in the parentheses represents one set of something. Okay? So, because if I wanted 50 of what's in the parentheses, this is my one set. So I'm going to look at all the answers and see which one makes sense. All right, we're going to let B be the number of blocks each friend has. All right, so it says Alex had some blocks. She gave 50 to Manuel and then divided the rest evenly. I don't see any division here. And if she gave 50 blocks, you're adding 50. So this is not the answer. All right, we're going to let B be the number of blocks. All right, Alexi had 50 blocks. She gave Manuel one set of the blocks, and she bought 3 more sets of the blocks. So this to me is 50 plus. She gave one set of her blocks to, now this is a set, right? And then she bought 3 more sets. That's what this one is. That's not, this is adding. This is what you started with. You're not multiplying, so this is not the answer. So it's Manuel and Alexi bought some blocks. Okay, it says Manuel bought 50 sets of blocks. We're going to let B be the sets of blocks. So this would be 50B. And then it says Alexi bought 4 times as many as Manuel. So this is 4 times 50B. No, that's not going to be the answer either. So I'm guessing this is going to be the answer. Let's look at why. Manuel and Alexi bought, all right, so we're going to let B be a set of blocks. Manuel and Alexi bought sets of 50 blocks. So you have 50 of them. Alexi bought 3 times as many as Manuel. All right, 3 sets plus Manuel must have bought 1 set. So that looks like that matches this situation. They just switched these around. So that's why the answer is D. Okay, circles. So here's the center of a circle. The outside of the circle is called the circumference. And if we go all the way across, we call that the diameter. And it goes through the center, from one end of the circle through the center to the other end of the circle. We call that the diameter. All right, I'm going to use capital letter C for circumference, little letter D for diameter. Now there is a special ratio that has to do with this. This is called pi, not the pie you eat. Pi represents a number, 3.1415, blah, 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 and it goes on forever. It's an irrational number that goes on forever. And hopefully your teacher did an activity with this, probably toward the beginning of the year. There's a special ratio where if you take any kind of circle, you take the circumference and you divide it by the diameter, no matter what size circle it is, you're always going to get this special number, 3.1415, etc. That is called pi. So the ratio that you're looking for is circumference to the diameter. So the answer is D. Number 22. All right, it has two parts. It says Jayesh determines that he needs to sell more than $200. More than $200, right there. A fruit at his produce stand in order to make a profit. Which inequality represents this? S is sales. So remember the format. Variable first, then your inequality sign, then your number. So S is more than, means greater than 200. So the answer's got to be C. So then they want us to figure out which one is the graph. All right, so I have to graph S is greater than 200. All right, if it's greater than, it's going to be an open circle on the number. So I'm going to look for those that have an open circle. So these two have an open circle. All of them have an open circle, so we're good. All right, it's greater than 200. So greater than 200, wouldn't the answers be going to the right? Well, this one didn't start at 200, this one didn't. So the only possible answer is A. The other thing I told you when we were doing this in class, all right, here's your inequality sign. In order to know which way the line is going with the arrow, just put a line here. Look, this ends up being, here's your inequality sign, right? Put a line, isn't the line with the arrow going to the right? Another little trick. All right, here we go. It says a line plot is shown, and it shows the number of cans a class of students at Epping Middle School collected for canned food drive. How many students collected the food? All right, well, all you have to do is count the dots, or the X's in this case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19. So you put 19 in the box. 1 gets its own box, the 9 gets its own box. And there's your answer, right? This represents the number of cans that each person gave, so that's why you're using the X's here. That's how you read a dot plot. Okay, here we go. We got to find the area in square feet. This is his kitchen floor plan. So this is a composite figure. So what you want to do is you want to break this into smaller pieces, okay, in order to try to figure it out. So there's lots of ways we can do it. It looks like we could cut it here and here, right? Or we can cut it here and here, and that's what I'm going to do. It looks like these two pieces are the same, right? So let's see what I can do here. All right, so I like to look at opposite sides and find all my sides. So first of all, let me do this one. We know that the area of a rectangle is length times width, and I think a good thing to do is trace it. Length times the width. So for this one, length times the width, and for this one, length times the width, they're both going to be the same. Because if this whole thing is 10, this whole thing is 10. So 3 times 10 is 30. So both of these are 30. 3 times 10. All right, the tricky piece is going to be this piece. All right, so I got to figure out what this is, and I need to figure out what this is. Now, I think I could figure this one out easier, because I'm going to look at just this line. From here to here is 4. I know that this whole thing has to be 10. So if I do 10, take away 4, isn't just from here to here 6? Right? From here to here is 6. All right, now I have to figure out this little piece. So I'm going to go up here, and it's going to help me. All right, I always look at opposite sides. All right, so I know from here to here is 3, right? From here to here is 3. I know the whole thing is 12. So if I do 12, take away 3 and 3 are 6, that must mean this little piece here has to be 6. So it looks like this is a square length. Let me do this in red. length times width. Length times width is 6 times 6, it's a square, 36. So now you got to add all the areas together. You could have done this another way, just keep that in mind. So 30 plus 36 plus 30, you add them together, 96. So 96 square feet. So I bubble in the 9, I bubble in the 6. All right, Linda recorded the number of minutes that she practiced playing her violin for 10 days. Okay, and what they want us to do is find the average time per day. Average is the mean. We got to find the mean of this. All right, so this is for 10 days, so I already know I'm going to add all the numbers, and then I'm going to divide by 10 because there's 10 numbers. All right, so I got to add all these up. All right, so here I go. All right, so 8, 13, 14, 15, 24, 25, 26, 32, 33, carry the 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 22, 24, 26, 29, 293. So it looks like this is 293 divided by 10. Now I'm going to do a quick check just to make sure that Ms. Taylor added them up right for you. All right, so let's add them up. That's a double check. Yep, I get 293. 293 divided by 10. So here we go. First number goes in the house. You got to divide by 10. There is a quick trick. If you're dividing by a power of 10, when you divide, all you're doing is moving the decimal point based upon the number of zeros. There's 1 0, you move it left. Your answer is going to be 29.3 when you're dividing by a power of 10. If this were 100, I'd move it twice. But I'm going to do the division so you see it. So this goes in twice. 9 left over. Drop down the 3. This goes in 9 times. 90. 3 left over. So you add a decimal point, bring it up, add some zeros. Drop down zeros until you don't have a remainder. This goes in exactly 3 times now, and you can stop. So the answer is 29 decimal point. Remember, decimal point gets its own box. 3. 2, 9, decimal point gets its own bubble. 2, 3. All right, then it wants her variation. All right, when you see variation, that means spread. And in our case, this is going to be the range. So the range is your high number, take away your low number. So I'm going to look at that. So my high number, when I look at this, 40, yep, 40 was my high number. Take away my low number. Is it 20? Yeah, it looks like it's 20. So 40 take away 20 is 20. So the range is 20. Bubble it in. Okay, here we go with, it looks like we're going to be looking at some integers. All right, Chicago, Illinois has an elevation of 600 feet above sea level. So that means it's positive. So I'm going to write Chicago, I'm going to abbreviate, is 600 feet above sea level. It says the elevation means how tall or how much in the hole it is. If it's negative, that means it's in a hole. If it's above sea level. Sea level is always 0, okay? So it says Desert Shores is 600 feet less than Chicago. All right, I'm going to draw a number line. Here's 0. Here's where Chicago is. All right, it's 800 less. All right, so here's 600. That brings me to 0, and I have to do another 200. So this brings me at negative 200 feet, right? So from here to here is 600 plus another 200 gives me my 800. So it looks like Desert Shores, I'm going to abbreviate that, is at negative 200. All right, select all that applies for Desert Shores. All right, the elevation is negative 200 feet. Yes, that's true. Is it positive 200? No. Is it below sea level? Yes. Sea level is 0. So it's, since, right, we think of this as sea level, 0. So it's below sea level. It's not at sea level and it's not above sea level. So the answers are A and C. All right, here we go with some volume. All right, this represents 1 cube. And they're telling you you have 64 of them. And what they want you to do is to find the volume. Okay, so you have, this is only one of the cubes. You have 64 of these, so imagine it. They want you to find the volume. So one way to find volume is find the volume of the unit cube and multiply it by the number of cubes that you have. The unit cube is this one little one. All right, so a cube means all the sides are the same. So to find volume, it's length times width times height. So we would have to, for this cube, we would have to multiply 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. You can only multiply 2 numbers at a time. 1 times 1 is 1, times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. So the volume of this little cube is 1/8, and then you got to multiply it by how many cubes you had. You had 64 cubes. Put this over 1, you're multiplying with fractions. You could cross-reduce here. For those of you that do that, please do it. All right, you would be left with 64 divided by 8, which is 8. So your volume is 8. And that would be cubic feet. Then on the next page, they want you to list possible lengths, widths, and height that get you to this volume. That's the next question. All right, so we knew our volume was 8. So we could do 2 times 2 times 2 for length, width, and height. We could do 1 times 1 times 8. We also could do, couldn't we do 1 times 4 times 2? In any of those orders, as long as those numbers were there. So lots of different answers for that. As long as when you multiply your length, your width, and your height, you get 8. So 2 times 2 times 2, yes, that gets you to 8. 1 times 1 times 8, yes, that gets you to 8. And then, of course, you could switch these around. And then 1 times 4 times 2, that gets you to 8, yes. Okay, here we're talking about the MAD, the mean absolute deviation. The MAD is the spread from the mean. Okay, so I'm going to draw a picture. Here's the mean at 17,123. And what they're telling us is they want us to select all the possible answers that the writers can write for the 5th week. Don't get confused by week 5 and week 4, okay? What they're telling you is that the spread is 611. This represents a spread. So you're gonna go left 611, and you're gonna go right 611. So when you go left, you're subtracting 611 from this, and when you're going right, you're adding 611 to figure out what the numbers should be. So I'm going to do that. I have 17,123, and I'm going to take away 611, and I'm going to take 17,123, and I'm going to add 611. Remember, the MAD is the spread from the mean. Here's the mean. All right, so I'm going to subtract. I have to borrow here. So I get 16,512. So that's our beginning point. And then our ending point over here, 17,734. So the numbers can be from here to here. This is where the spread is. So which numbers fall within this spread? Okay, 16,297, no, that doesn't work. 16,809, would that be from here to here? Yes. 17,724, yes. 17,900 would be too high, right? Too high. And 18,000 is going to be too high as well. So it looks like we only have 2 numbers, B and C. All right, number 29. This looks like it's the last one. The points 4, -6, and 9, -6 represent the location of 2 towns on a grid, where each grid is 1 unit. Okay, that's good. All right, they want you to find the distance between the 2 towns. All right, there's 2 ways of doing this, right? One way we learned was if they don't give us the grid, you cross out the x or the y coordinate, that's the same. So it looks like the y's are the same. Since both of these are the same sign, you subtract their absolute values. So 9 take away 4 is 5. That's one way of doing it. The answer is going to be 5. So you bubble it in. All right, the other way is if you had graph paper, and I think when you take your FSA, you are going to get graph paper. You can always use the graph paper. So here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I got to do -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. Here's -6. So where they meet is one of the points. Here's -6, right? And then 9, -6. So here's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here's 9. 9, -6 would be here. All right? So if I were to count, I'm going to just draw my lines down. And all I have to do is I have to count the number of spaces from here to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You would see the distance between them is 5. That's another way you can do it. That's if you have better graph paper and could do it. But the answer, if you don't have graph paper, cross out the part that's the same, whether it be the x or the y. If they're the same sign, in this case they're both positive, but if they were both negative, you would subtract their absolute values. If one of these were negative and one of these were positive, then you would add their absolute values. So the answer is 5. And that concludes our review of the Florida Department of Education practice test.